Hello, good day everyone. Today we're working on a little speed paint job, and I will be testing the Vallejo Hobby Paint White Primer as a cheaper alternative to the Citadel, as well as this little unknown Chinese brand Fumui. I don't know how to pronounce it, but these brushes come as what's that? Let me, for once and for all, get the hairbrush bristles right. These are Sable, Kolinsky Sable hairs, and they are pretty friendly priced. So they're about 30 to 40 US dollars on Amazon, and they come with an interesting shape. So it has a triangular hold, and I'll be reviewing that later on. I will explain why there are some limitations to it, but for now we're gonna start. Let's get going. So to start things off, we're gonna paint all the bodies with Plaguebearer flesh. That's basically the main majority of the model, and to be honest with you, if you do this and you finish that, technically speaking, you could say it's tabletop ready. So I remember saying it a lot during my paint job, so I do record while speaking as well, or I speak while recording, I should say. But yeah, so this took about 10 to 20 minutes to finish for the whole army. And let me just get to the end point. We'll see this one guy being covered, and then we move on. We'll just finish it off with the champion here, and then I would like to discuss the larger brushes. So what I found out with this particular brand is that these larger brushes hold their tip rather well, but the smaller ones, especially the one below 0, yeah, I mean, it holds the tip, but once they get wet, they sort of like spread out, so it doesn't stay in shape, so to speak, which is a very unfortunate thing if that's what you're looking for. Most people do. Next up, we're gonna do the intestines with Volupus Pink. This is really done in what, 5 minutes, 10 minutes worth. So not a big deal. The problem with this ink, this contrast, is that you'll need to do a few layers in order to get the result you're looking for. Volupus Pink does not grab surfaces well. It does sink into crevices really well, but not sit on top of surfaces. So you just have to paint 2 or 3 times to get the desired result you want. But all in all, it's a great contrast for your intestine work, internal organs, that sort of stuff. So what we're gonna do now is the swords with the intense black color from AK Paints. And an interesting observation from my perspective, at least, is that this particular paint, the pigmentation seems to be heavier than the binding material, which causes the two to separate while being on the wet palette. So you just have to make sure that you blend it constantly, otherwise you get this very odd grayish matte result on your swords in the long run, or in my case, I mean. So whatever you're painting with this color, with the black, you do get like strange results if you do not keep on mixing it, even when you mixed it in the bottle. Just a tip if you're using this stuff. After the swords, we're doing the other internals with Shyish Purple. And with other internals, I mean the holes in their bodies and parts of the aberrations, let's call it, of the units. So this one, the lips or the inner flesh before the mouth starts. And other units have like maggots sticking out with inner flesh. So that's all Shyish Purple, and that's in line with my other Plaguebearer units like the Sloppity and the Scrivener. So I tried to keep the army colors the same. Later on I'm going to do a comparison between using white and Slapchop between the results of the Plaguebearer flesh, and you'll see a stark difference actually. We gotta paint the stick. We're gonna use Wyldwood, the standard bearer, and yeah, well, straightforward stuff. So we're gonna not put too much time on this, but again, with the primer, this particular primer, I feel that it's when it dries, so when it's wet it looks similar to the Scar White, but when it dries it evens out, so later on you'll see the result. We're gonna do some wet blending on the fly head on one of these guys. So one of the options is a fly head, and I particularly like that one. Makes the unit all interesting, not having a uniform head like the others. And I'll be applying some wet blending techniques to mix it with the rest of the body. So after finishing his head, we're gonna finish off with Gryph-hound Orange and paint his eyes and his mouth or tongue, and that finishes off the fly head in this case. Next up we're gonna do horns with Screaming Skull and Plaguebearer Flesh or Ratling Grime. So for the fly I'll be using Ratling Grime, of course, but the others will have a Plaguebearer Flesh wet blending. Here we are with the champion. So we'll just paint a little bit over the head again where the green was, as that's what I marked as the zone of transition earlier. And then I will just blend with the Plaguebearer while the Screaming Skull layer paint is still a bit wet. Now as you see, I saw a very dark spot on his head, and I decided that's not nice. We're going to use Screaming Skull to lighten that up. At this point, we're doing all the details. Flayed 1 flesh is for all those heads that the champion are holding and the heads that are hanging on the standard. And I follow that up with painting the metal of the standard bearer. So we're just making sure all the white is gone at this point, and have these models look like they are finished for play. For the metal, we're going to use Iron Warriors, as usual, as the base coat. So we'll just paint off the bells and the Nurgle sign with the skulls on it. And that's basically everything metal of this particular unit. As the saying goes, the devil's in the details. So we're going to use Cygor brown on these little straps, ropes that are holding the flute together, as well as the hairs that are held by the champion. Now it's time to throw some shade over these models. Get it? Anyway, I'm doing some Agrax Earthshade on this flute. And after that's done and dried, it's basically finished. It stays in the depths and the crevices quite nicely. That's how I feel about it anyway. And I follow that up with the Reikland Fleshshade for the heads hanging on the standard bearer and the heads that are held by the champion. Later on, I will also put Agrax on the metal parts of this model just to give it a little bit more depth. But that's all we do. And we've come to the point where we paint the eyes and the teeth and the other teeth details and all the whatnots that are out there with Corax white. It's a bit tedious work, but I think I've got it done in about 15 minutes. We are now at the point where we paint the little boils on their bodies with the Iron Josh Yellow. And I'm not gonna lie, I think this particular part of the project took a third of the whole time. So I spent a solid hour going between this and Shyish Purple to make sure that all the details, all the holes are covered with shyish purple, and the boils are covered in yellow. And yeah, you just keep on missing little details while you paint, and then when you paint the next model with the other color, you see the, oh, I missed that part, I will go back to yellow or back to shyish purple. Now we'll finish up the details on the standard bearer. We're gonna paint the skulls with Hashut copper, and I will be applying brass, Runelord brass on the bell. And that is basically the standard bearer done. Now I could have added maybe some rust and Neelac shade as well, but all in all this is still a speed paint job, so I wanted to make this done as fast as possible. And here we are at the point where I would like to discuss what your preferences are when it comes to using different techniques. So as you can see with the Plaguebearers, I only used a white primer and applied contrast, and on the Sloppity I have applied the slap chop technique. Now personally I prefer the Sloppity results over the Plaguebearer results. However, I understand that for those who have limited time, you can opt for the speed paint technique. I mean, the details are there, I'd say the results are there, but I prefer the color of Plaguebearer flesh on slap chop more than I like on the white primer. And that's basically what is going on here. So you have that neon green looking stuff on white, and you have this dark, nice, rich, detailed color on Sloppity. So that's basically it. What I do found out is that the Scar White has the same result. I put a little bit of Plaguebearer there just to compare, and as you can see it's the same. So Vallejo and Citadel have similar results, so in that aspect there's no issue in using either of them. But yeah, I do prefer the slap chop version and results. It's time to get based here. We're gonna use arid grasslands again. Technically I mixed it with the other one, so you get a lot of the red stuff as well, but it's okay. And yeah, we just apply the all-purpose glue from Elmer's, dump these things in the box, the container, and get them based. After that, the next step would be swamp gel. And with this last step, that ends this little speed paint run of 3.5 to 4 hours. And if you are still watching, thank you for staying here. And it's time now for the B-roll.